Hello everybody, this is ManuS and welcome to another Legends of Runeterra review video. Today we got some big stuff to talk about. The first batch of the second part of Call of the Mountain spoilers. I actually forgot the name, what they calling the new mini set, but it's basically just additional Call of the Mountain content and a bunch of stuff they announced for the future of the game. So pretty big stuff. So first we're gonna dive into the new spoilers, the first half of the Bilgewater spoilers. By the time you're watching this video, the spoilers for the Champion Tahm Kench will also be out already, but I'll try to catch up with those as soon as possible. For now we're gonna focus on the first batch of spoilers, and after that I'll talk a bit about what else they mentioned in the introduction video of the next set. But before we do so, you know the drill. Hit the subscribe button down below to not miss out on future content. And now let's dive right in. Alright, so the first big thing is a new card type. New card type is called Landmarks, and you just play it onto the board the same way you do with a unit. It also takes up a unit space. It doesn't have any health or durability or anything, so you can't attack it, can't damage it. There will be specific cards that can target landmarks, and some old cards will be errataed to be able to interact with landmarks, like Comet will get an errata, for example, stuff like that. So yeah, this is the first one, Vaults of Helia. Some people that play Magic drew comparisons to Birthing Pod, but it's definitely like notably worse than a Birthing Pod type card, but it nonetheless does some cool stuff. So you kill your most expensive ally to summon an ally from your deck that costs 1 more. We know by now that it only kills a unit if there is a unit with the next higher cost in your deck. So if you have a 4 cost as highest cost in play, but your only unit in the deck is a 6, not a 5, then nothing happens. So you still can do some interesting sort of chains up the curve with summon effects generating value, but it's still like a lot worse than Birthing Pod because you can't control when it activates. It always activates on the most expensive unit, so you can't like turn cheap units into better cards later and stuff like that. But yeah, it's still an interesting card. Not sure how competitive it will be, but it's certainly an interesting card in terms of deck building that might do some cool things, and we'll see, maybe there's even a good deck with it, but it's too early to tell. But yeah, the card can certainly generate a lot of value. It gains you a mana each turn effectively. It can cycle up units that already are damaged and generated effects. Summon effects still trigger and stuff like that, so there's still a lot it can do. It can also sort of function as a makeshift tutor. Has interesting interactions with cards like Anivia, for example, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot to explore with this card once it comes out, so it's pretty cool from a brewing perspective. Next we have the first new Bilgewater landmark, the Slaughter Docks, much cheaper one here, costs 3. At the round start you toss 1, so it's most likely gonna go into deep. If you are deep, so it also cares about you being deep, you destroy it and summon a random sea monster. So it's actually pretty solid. Like, it's not that easy to kill. It helps you get to deep, and once you are at deep, you're guaranteed to get something that is much better than 3 mana. So yeah, seems like a pretty interesting and solid card for deep. Although keep in mind, 3 mana is still quite an investment for no board impact, so that could be a bit of an issue here. But all in all, the card still seems pretty decent, and at least for deep is a real consideration. Otherwise, I don't think the card is very attractive in any other shell, basically. So it's kind of an uninteresting card. It's either going to be good enough to make it into deep, or it's not going to see any play, most likely. Then we have Sunk Cost. Speaking of cards that can interact with landmarks, it's an 8 cost slow spell and shuffles a unit or landmark into its deck, so into the deck of the controller, I guess. So yeah, a bit weird. I don't know, like, I think the card probably could have cost 7, because then it's still like, while it costs as much as Vengeance, not being fast is a big downside, and shuffling the card in the deck instead of killing it is also potentially a downside. So I think costing the same as Vengeance, but being able to hit landmarks with all the downsides that come with it would have made sense. I guess it's a Bilgewater card, so you can't really compare it with a Shadow Isles card, because Shadow Isles has different strengths and is better at the removal thing than Bilgewater, so that's probably the reason why it's so expensive. But I think the card's probably going to be too expensive and will maybe show up as a one-off if necessary, but more likely just not going to see much play, I think. I don't know, maybe there will be some insane landmark that you will have to be able to deal with, but all in all, I think sunk cost seems like a lot of sunk mana cost. Like, that pun was kind of begging for it, but I'll shut up now and move on to the next card. Next we have Lounging Lizard. It's a 3-cost, 3/5 elusive that at the round start deals 2 damage to itself. So it basically kills itself after like 2 attacks usually. Why is it? Yeah, 2. Like you can get like 2 attacks in with it. It's kind of interesting. There are obviously some synergies here, like for example, you can reset it with like a Chronicler, you can heal it with heal cards, you can do like, you can silence it if you have a way to silence it for free and then not just left with a 3-cost 3/5, which isn't terrible either. But there's also some synergy with cards like Swain, obviously, because it helps Swain level, because it damages. It deals non-combat damage to it, but it probably won't be good enough for that. So not sure how playable this card's gonna be. My guess for now would be the card's probably a bit too awkward and not that great, since a card that just kind of kills itself over time, and then the opponent can even help it, or like if you get in combat, it's getting rougher and so on and so forth. So yeah, I don't know. Seems like a bit of a dud. But maybe there will be context that makes this good enough. Like, I don't know. We don't know what Soraka looks like. So maybe there's a world where like Soraka makes this card playable, and there's like a Bilgewater, Targon, Soraka type deck that wants to play this card. But with what we have and know right now, I think the card's probably not that great. Next we have Fortune Croaker. This, on the other hand, is pretty amazing. It's a 2-cost, 2/3. And when you play it, you deal 1 damage to itself and another ally and draw a card. So that's pretty amazing. So it's effectively like a 2-cost, 2/2 that draws a card and deals 1 damage to another ally. Pretty good deal here. Basically, at a similar level as Avaros and Sentry, with the upside that when it works, it draws a card right away and you get a 2/2. So it's pretty good, although you effectively still kind of get a 2/1 because you deal 1 damage to another unit of yours, although that might still be a bit better than having an actual 2/1 in terms of like stuff like Make It Rain and all the stuff that deals 1 damage. So it's very comparable to this, so I would expect this to become a Bilgewater staple and show up in a lot of decks. Like Swain decks obviously love this card. It's like 2 damage for your Swain level up. It's a solid value play early on. Although, obviously, like on turn 2, the deck actually can't support it, so we'll have to see how it fits in and how the deck might need to restructure. Maybe you end up with Butcher in the deck and stuff like that. We'll have to see. But yeah, this card has a lot of potential, and I think will make it into a lot of Bilgewater decks for obvious reasons, the same way that Sentry does make it into a lot of Freljord decks. Although the thing is, like, while Sentry goes really well into like unit light decks that just want some early game, this kind of is the opposite. You kind of want this in like a deck that has early units, so you can actually play it early and benefit from it. Because yeah, as a like turn 2 play, it's just a 2-cost 2/3, which isn't terrible, but it's not like exciting. But yeah, it's still pretty flexible, since having the choice to either have a 2-cost 2/3 turn 2 or because I don't think it deals damage to itself if there's no ally, but or like later have like a 2/2 that deals a damage to another ally and draws your card. So yeah, definitely a pretty good card, and gonna be like a great role player and sort of like utility staple in Bilgewater decks of various kinds. Next we have Boxtooth. This one's pretty cool. First of all, it's a 2-cost 3/1 challenger effectively, with like nothing to help, which might already be interesting for scouts as an alternative to hired gun, now that Warchefs is dead. But there are obviously like some other implications, like Boxtooth into Kindly Tavern Keeper seems pretty insane. There are ways to once again reset it, or get the health back in other ways. It's great with Guiding Touch, for example, as well. So once again, might be pretty great in a Soraka deck, depending on what that looks like, but once again, too early to tell. There are a bunch of implications here. Also, it's great for Swain once again, because it actually adds 3 to your Swain level up, while also providing a pseudo removal unit. So yeah, this seems like a potentially great addition for Swain decks as well. Like I could see this replacing House Spider, for example, and we'll have to see how the Croaker fits into the Swain decks, but this also seems pretty good. So yeah, some pretty nice tools here, and this has a really high and interesting ceiling, obviously, because it's like a 3/1 that can be healed up to 3/4 is much, much better than an actual 3/1, obviously. And even like a 2-cost 3/1 challenger would be pretty alright. And then we have Crusty Codger, basically a 1-cost 2/2 with the upside of being able to be healed up. Like once again, stuff like Guiding Touch, Kindly Tavern Keeper, all that stuff helps your Swain level. So this could be actually like a better 1-drop in a Swain deck than Butcher. So you can play turn 2 Croaker. So there's a lot of potential for like Swain Twisted Fate to be sort of reworked and changed notably, and what it will look like. But it's too early like to say how. But there are a couple of interesting options here. Also, this being pulled from a Petty Officer is insane, because it's a 2/4 if Petty Officer pulls it, stuff like that. So yeah, quite a sick high roll for Petty Officer added here. And yeah, all in all, at worst you get like a 1-cost 2/2. How bad is that really? Like a 1-cost 2/2 is very solid. So yeah, it's a card that probably will see play in some capacity in some decks. Just a solid like role player, solid filler. And then we have Crumble, 5 mana slow. You kill an ally to kill a unit or destroy a landmark. So this is much more efficient. There's some stuff you can throw away. It's a Shadow Isle card though, so I am not sure if we're gonna see more than those 2 Shadow Isles cards, because we had like 3 cards from like the regions that weren't in the set last time, and I would guess that maybe the 2 we saw now are all we're gonna get, because like they can't put like a ton of Shadow Isles cards into both of the additional sets. I don't know, maybe it's possible that we get a 3rd one, and then we'll get 2 more regions with 3 cards here or something. And in the last set we get like the 3 off-card packages for the other cards that were already released or something like that. We'll have to see how they do it. But yeah, Crumble seems okay. It's not that great given that it's slow, so it's a bit clunky, but I mean, it's reasonably flexible, and it's more unique in what it can do because it can kill landmarks, so it will potentially see some play in some capacity. But once again, stuff like that is hard to judge without having all the context. And yeah, that concludes all the spoilers, but there was a whole lot other stuff announced. So first of all, we get end of season tournaments starting with the next season that you can qualify for by finishing higher in Masters or by doing well in Gauntlet. So they're going to make Gauntlet competitive and matter, which is cool, and probably part of why they did the like tournament style Gauntlet format, which also might be a test run for the in-tournament like in-client end of season tournament direction, or at least the test run, and I'll see how much they like the format and if they're going to use that format or something similar. But yeah, pretty excited. Like that's the start of like official in-client supported esports, which is amazing for all people as competitively minded as myself, and also my new team and stuff like that. So that's pretty great. Then we get the first version of a spectator mode, which is amazing and super important for obvious reasons. So yeah, there's a whole bunch of cool new stuff coming. That's just like the tip of the iceberg. So yeah, what do you think? What do you think of the first spoilers? What do you think of the announcement of like spectator mode in client tournaments? It's pretty cool that we also get the chance to qualify through other means than ladder, which is pretty cool. The current assumption is like something like 700-ish people from ladder and 300-ish people from Gauntlet. Oh yeah, because they said that it's gonna be 1,000 players per region. They might not be region locked, so it might be possible if you have multiple accounts to qualify for multiple tournaments on multiple servers. So that that is not clear, and if that's possible, that might incentivize more people to like sort of make additional accounts. Not sure if I'm gonna do that because it's a lot of work, and I don't think I have the time to manage like multiple clients, multiple collections, especially collections that are big enough to have a variety of decks for ladder and also a wide enough variety of decks for like a 3-deck tournament format. But it's certainly an option, especially for people that already have accounts in various regions with collections. But yeah, that's it for now. I'll be back next time with the other half of the Bilgewater spoilers with Tom, Kench, and friends, so stay tuned for that. And until then, let me know in the comments what you think. If you enjoyed the content, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel for more, turn on notification icon to not miss out on future content. And yeah, thanks for watching everybody, and I'll see you next time. Bye!